My name is Michael V. Anderson, and I served in the U.S. Army for just over 3.5 years. In service I was a U.S. Army MP, so I was a military police officer, and we did both garrison work, meaning in the States, and then field work when we deployed. I was enlisted. I did file for civil service, like you're supposed to when you turn 18, although I enlisted at age 17 and a half, and I left for the Army basic training when I was 18, only by 21 days. I think the most unique experience was getting to deploy to Panama 2 different times. So during the Manuel Noriega era, we were sent down to Panama on 2 different deployments. And it was the ability to see something outside the United States and to definitely see a third world country that was controlled by one man and his regime, and help the people from Panama get away from that and clear up that blockage that they had because of one man and his agenda. When I was in service, that was a little bit difficult to stay in touch with them because we didn't have any form of social media, we didn't have cell phones, so we would have to call home on a payphone, or we would have to call home collect. So keeping in contact was done via phone, but it was also done in letters. We would actually write letters back and forth, and it was always good to get mail because that was something exciting for us. I made a lot of friends in the service. I really liked all the people that I was with. I should say the majority of them. I still stay in contact with 2 of my barracks mates, or I would call roommates. One of them is in local law enforcement in central Wisconsin, and I just talked to him last week via email. And then my other roommate is actually in Vermont, and I stay in touch with him on email and also by phone. Well, unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of free time when we were serving, but we were able to go play softball and basketball and do outside activities. I was stationed in Northern Virginia, so there was a lot of outdoor activities that we could do, camping and hiking, fishing along the Potomac River. So we spent our time doing mostly outside activities. I don't think there's any real life-changing moments. I do appreciate the time that I had in the service because I did learn a lot from that. I don't know if I would call them life-changing though. Living conditions were fairly good when we were in Northern Virginia. That's where I was stationed for a lot of the time. We had a big concrete set of barracks, and it was kind of like living in a college dorm. We had a couple roommates. We all had our own bed. We had a wall locker and a small closet, although we shared a community bathroom, which was down the hall, and laundry. When we deployed to Panama the very first time, we stayed in an abandoned school. So we slept in classrooms, and they put the bunks really close together, and we lived out of our duffel bags and our rucksacks, the packs that we would carry in our back. The second time we deployed to Panama, we actually lived in the Panamanian Defense Forces barracks that were taken over by the U.S. military invasion. And that wasn't the best living conditions because we were in a very large room and there were no windows. So at night, all the bugs would come in and we had to sleep with mosquito nettings over our bunks. We shared one small shower room with about 50 to 60 other men. So it wasn't the best conditions, but that's all we had. It wasn't difficult for me to acclimate to civilian life. I got out of the service during Desert Storm 1. I was actually held in a little longer than I originally signed up for because of the conflict over in the Middle East. I came back home to my parents' house and I started working in the private sector. The work that I did after my time in the military, I started working directly in the private sector for Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Chicago in St. Charles. And then after that, I applied for the Sycamore Police Department, and I was hired in 1991 by the Sycamore Police Department and spent 30.5 years working for the citizens of Sycamore. I don't think it's really changed my views on war. I've always been supportive of the U.S. military before I joined, and I continue to the day. The soldiers and sailors are assigned to do a job. The job is handed down from the government or from Congress, and I'm supportive in what they're doing because they can't always make the decisions on each mission they're assigned. They just have to fulfill their job. So I've always been supportive of that, along with the other first responders in the world, so I'll continue to do that. The Army has changed a lot in technology. It's also changed in uniforms. They've changed vehicles that we used to drive were different compared to the vehicles now. The uniform that's to the right of me over here was the uniform that I wore, similar to that, and now they have different kind of camouflage. They have different colors. They wear different hats, different boots. So the Army is always evolving and technology is always evolving. You had asked me earlier about communication. Now communication is a lot easier when you're in the service. I wish civilians would all volunteer for military service because we have to fill out paperwork when you turn 18 for civil service, and I wish more would join the military to experience it and also to support the country. We live in a great country where we have a lot of freedoms, and I don't think a lot of people understand that we have those freedoms based on the service and the service members and women that have provided. Some of the things that I miss while being in the service is the camaraderie with all of the other men and women we served with. It's like a big family while you're assigned. You get to hang out with your friends, but you also get to work with them. And I don't miss some of the jobs that we were assigned because some of them weren't as pleasurable as others, but I definitely like the people that I was with. I'm currently a member of Sycamore Post 99, and I'm a member of that Veterans Club under the American Legion. I wanted to join the military because I wanted to get into police work, and ever since I was a little boy in kindergarten, I wanted to be a police officer. So when I was old enough and able enough, I joined the military because I knew that would help me later in my career as being a police officer. So I think that we should never forget people that have already served. Some of them aren't here. As you get older and the World War II veterans are dying off because of the amount of time they spent and the age since that war, but not forgetting all the people that have served this country so well that provide the freedoms that we have.